Good morning, third grade. I'm here today to talk to you about lesson 10.6, and mainly this is measuring, which you've done a lot of in third grade, so this shouldn't be too much of a new lesson. But I want to go over some of the things about a ruler. And first of all, there are different types of rulers. We have our standard ruler that you're used to using. This would just be a typical 1-foot ruler. It goes all the way up to 12 inches. So this would be a 1-foot ruler. You have something like a tape measure. A tape measure comes out of a device like tape, except it goes back in as well. These are metal, so you should be careful, as the edges, while they are not sharp, can cut you when it goes back inside. So please don't play around with it. Make sure you are careful. And finally, we also have something like a Taylor's tape measure. These are soft because they can go around things. They can measure the length of your arm. That can be bent. So this will do the same thing as the other two. This one will just have a little bit more flexibility to it. But they're all doing the same thing. They're measuring length. They're measuring how long something is. Now, in the United States, we use what is called U.S. customary. U.S. customary is inches, feet, and yards, miles for how long something is. If you were using the metric system, you would be using the centimeters. And on our ruler, the centimeters are on the other side. They are the smaller measurements on the opposite side of the ruler. And they are in groups of 10. Now, actually, metric makes a lot more sense than the U.S. customary. We will be using U.S. customary today, but metric makes sense because it's based in 10. When you have 10 of something, you have another something. So in this case, you have 10 millimeters, 10 centimeters, and that equals a decimeter. 10 decimeters equals 1 meter. And if you break down the centimeters, which are right here from 0 to 1, those are millimeters. So 10 millimeters is a centimeter, 10 centimeters is a decimeter, 10 decimeters, I would have a complete meter, which would be too long to show you on the video. U.S. customary works a little differently. We have these inches, and inches are broken down into sixteenths. And as you already know, that doesn't go into 10 very easily. So we have these sixteenths of an inch. If you count them carefully, there are 16 of them there. Look at your own ruler and see if you can count 16 little dots in between. Let's take a look. So we start at, I'm just going to start at the 2, even though we could start at the 0. I'm going to start at the 2 and then go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yep, 16, I get to the 3. So we have 16 parts of an inch. Now, 12 inches equals a foot, not even 16 again. We need 12 inches equals a foot. And if I had a yard, well, that would be 3 feet equals a yard. And so we're getting kind of confusing because sixteenths of an inch, 16 little pieces equals an inch, and 12 inches equals a foot, and 3 feet equals a yard, and 100 yards equals a touchdown, and that's all very confusing. But for today, we are just going to be measuring length, and it's going to stay within the length of the ruler. So we'll take a look at this. When using it, make sure that you are using the very edge of the ruler, or if you happen to have a 0 showing, that you are on the 0. And whenever you are measuring a length, you need to make sure the edge of the ruler is right up against where you're starting your line. So in this case, I'm going to make sure. Lower grades often have a habit of starting at the 1. They just think, oh, I got to start at 1 to go in, but actually we want to start at the 0 line. So when I put that 0 line right there, notice I am lined up right here, right on the edge of that. Okay, now today you don't have to be that specific, but we are trying to get accurate because we are going to be measuring to the 1/4 of an inch. The 1/4 of an inch is the one that goes in on all the ones. For every 4 is a 1/4 of an inch, because if it's measured out by 16, well, 1/4 of 16 is 4. So we have these little sixteenths of an inch, and the 1/4 will be here, 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 and of course on the inch mark themselves. So for this one, it would have been here, here, and here. For this one, it'll be here, here, and here. So we are measuring out to the quarters of an inch. This one in particular, this orange one, as you can see right here, I am going past the 2, and I am going to 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. Even if it goes past a little bit, it's not quite at the 3. I can't say. It's closer to this mark right here. So if I show you that, that's going to be 2 3/4. And we write it just like we would anything else. We write it 2 3/4 inches. Now there is a little shortcut you can use. If you want to use, you can say 2 3/4 inches. You must put 2 marks there. This is the mathematical abbreviation for inches. You'll see it all the time when people build houses. The contractors use it, architects use it. They use the little inches mark, but this is still a mandatory label. You must have a label on there. You can also put IN with a period. You can also put 2 3/4 inches, because it goes to show that it's not the word in. It's the word inches. It's abbreviated, so we want to make sure we have a little period after it. These are 3 different ways to mark inches: spelling it out, using the inches sign, and putting IN period. So again, we measure. We get to right here. That would be 2 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 2 3/4 inches, and that's our label. Let's take a look at the green line and just continue on here. We'll measure all of these. Once again, I am lining up with the edge, the 0 mark on the ruler, and I'm going to go up to here, and this one ends right here. So what would that be? If we're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and how many quarters did I go? I didn't mark these with blue, but you can see 1, 2, 3. There's my 4. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. So this would be 5 1/4 inches. 5 1/4 inches. If I go to blue, this one's rather easy if we look straight at it. I don't have to worry about quarters or halves or any of it. I am right at 3 inches. So I will put 3 inches. I'm using my different labels. One more to go. Let's take a look at this one here. And let's see where this one goes to. All right. Oops. Okay. So I line it up on the 0, and it goes to right here. Closest to where? In our case, this one is closest to right here. This would be 4 1/2 inches. 4 1/2 inches. Let's just check to make sure. I'm going to use the tape measure and kind of see, are these all about the same? They should be. So if I put this back up, I've got a top sheet here that moves. I put it here, and sure enough, 4 1/2 inches on this one. If we look at this one right here, between the blues, I'll put it right on the 0, and it comes out right about 3 inches. This one comes out to be 5 1/4 inches. A little harder to see the lines, but you get used to looking at them. And lastly, 2 3/4 inches. So it really doesn't matter what I'm using. They will all come out the same. One other thing that your book is going to look at today is doing a line plot, and it can get just a little confusing doing those line plots. So I'm just going to kind of remind you how to do those line plots today. As we take a look, one thing they're going to have you do is they're going to have you measure your fingers. And I don't know that you'll have crayons around the house to do this activity up at the top, but we will look at this one down here. Measure the length of your fingertips. And the way to measure your fingertips is, it's kind of hard to say, wait, how long are they? What you want to do is you kind of want to hold your hand like this and then put the ruler inside your crevices here and kind of put it like this, and you'll be able to kind of see about where your finger goes. So if I was doing my index finger, it goes to right about this one right here. Yours might not go that far, it might even go further. So if I'm going 1, 2, it's between 2 and 3 inches, and if I do this, I can see, oh, it doesn't quite reach the 3, but it's just past this one right here. Well, that would be 1, 2, 3/4. So that would be 2 3/4 inches. So when I put that down here, I would mark an X on 2 3/4 inches. Even though I'm making a measurement, I'm putting how many I have at that measurement. Now, to do the middle finger, no, we're not getting silly. But if I were to put that there, I can see that this one is going to about here when I put it in. Boom, measuring. I'm just kind of assuming this is 0 right here. And I can rest it in, it goes to right about there. That would be 1, 2, 3, and oh, that would be 3 1/4. So I would mark down 3 1/4 as an X. Remember, line plots, just put X's for what you measure. Let's try the ring finger. That finger, putting it in. I'm kind of again at 3 1/4. Now you might think, how does the ring finger as long as that? Well, it depends on if I measure from here, this side, or this side on the joint. So it is possible if I go from this side, which is a little harder because I can't see, then it would be about 3 inches. So if I do this one here and this one here, because this joint is further down, but it would be okay. So I'm going to measure this one from here again, and that one is 3. So now I'm going to put a 3 there. I'm going to use a different color, just so it's clear as to what we're putting. And lastly, I need my ring finger. So I'm going to put my, oops, you don't want to measure from the back side. That would be the wrong way. Then I get 10 inches and I have a very long finger. I'm going to put it here, and I get 2 1/4 inches because I went to right there. So it went 1, 2 1/4 inches. So now I can go back to red if needed. And lastly, my thumb. I need to do my thumb. So I'm going to put it in there, and you can see that one goes about 2 1/4 inches also. So I have another, my ring finger and my thumb are about the same. That's one hand. Do your second hand. Yes, it's actually possible your fingers could be different lengths, but I'm going to guess that they're going to be similar. Okay, so today you will be doing a line plot on your fingers. You will also be measuring these lines. Make sure you line them up. Oops, sorry, with the ruler. As you do that, I only got so much room here. Lining them up, making sure you see where they go all the way to the nearest 1/4 inch, the nearest 1/4 of an inch. And then you're going to be putting your line plot down here. Okay, so you'll be measuring these lines up here. And after you measure these lines up here, you're going to put the line plot down here. You're going to have to fill in what lengths it is. All right, enjoy measuring.